Astra 2.0 is out, and in this video, we're going to tell you everything that you need to know about it. Right now, I've got Astra 2.0 on the left and Astra 1.8.8 on the right-hand side. This is the latest version of their 1.0 stream, and this is Astra 2.0 on the left. As you can see, when we first load this up, the immediate difference on the left-hand sides of the layout. This is going to basically standardize what settings you want to change in your site. You'll notice that we have a new global section, which takes care of topography, colors, container, and buttons. And if you look on the right, we have some of those options out here in the open, but it may not be completely clear as to what settings these will change. For example, you're looking underneath of the global section on 2.0. You know that these are going to affect the entire website, whereas there's buttons here. They've got the header button, the theme button. There's different ones here that you can change. So they're bringing out some of the key important things that you need to have here, such as header, breadcrumbs, the blog sidebar and footer. Whereas on the right hand side, you don't have those key features. They're trying to make it so that there are less clicks in Astra 2.0. So less clicks to make the setting changes that you need to make. For example, header, blog, sidebar, footer, those are all underneath of layout. So right now, we've done no clicks on the left hand side in 2.0, and we've only done one click already in Astra 1.0. Now, if we want to edit anything with the header, we have to do another click here, but now we're on our first click as well here. So we're getting to the same point, but it's going to be in less clicks. And this may not sound like it's going to save you a lot of time, but if you're heavy into Customizer and you're trying to make all of these different changes, then it's going to save you a lot of time and headache just trying to find where these settings are. Because right now, trying to find your header might not be as simple as, oh, I have to go into layout. Then maybe you think about changing the colors and things of that nature. So it's just trying to figure out where they are on Astra 1.0 compared to where they are in Astra 2.0. You know that the header is right here. There's things like footer. So all of the key features that you need to edit with your website are all going to be in the root of the panel over here on the left hand side in 2.0. Whereas they're going to be hidden if you are using anything under 2.0. Another huge change that they've made is they've gotten rid of basically the colors in the background. And I know that we have global and colors over here on the left hand side where we have the base colors. But if you look under colors here, we have base colors as well. We have all of our header. So we have all of our header colors here. Footer widgets, all of our colors, and then footer bar colors. Now, that's great, but now if we want to edit anything else in the footer, we have to go underneath of our layout into the footer and then change it here as well, or change whatever we want as well here. If we go into Astra 2.0 and we go underneath of the footer, and then we go underneath of the footer bar, we have everything that we need to change in one section. We have the layout, if we want to add our sections, 1, 2, and then of course we have all of our colors and backgrounds down here at the bottom. Whereas in 1.0, we have to navigate back out of the colors, out of the customizing layout section into the color section, back into the footer settings. Whereas they're consolidating all of the settings that you need to do in one spot. So all of the heading colors are going to be all underneath of header instead of header and colors. That way it saves you a lot of time when you're trying to edit the site. Everything's going to be in one place for a particular section of your website that you're working on, whether it be the body, the heading, or the footer. You'll also notice that there's a little bit of a change in the user interface with the icons that they've made. So they've added some new ones here. As you can see, it's much cleaner. You've got a little bit of more modern feel, whereas on this section you've got where you know it's a footer, it's just not as updated as what's out there now. And of course, we have all of our same settings. They've removed a couple of the texts here. So as you can see, it says custom text in 1.0, whereas it just says text. A few things got rearranged. So definitely take note of what's being rearranged and where things are. And then of course we have the settings for, like I said, for the background color, and they're no longer underneath of their own color section. Same with the header. If we wanted to change the color for anything with the header, go under layout, header, primary header. We have all of these options here. But if we wanted to change anything color wise, we would have to go underneath of colors, header, and then we have all of our settings over here. So it's a little bit more confusing in 1.0 as compared to 2.0. They've definitely simplified everything, and they've made things just work and function a lot quicker. Let me show you a little bit of a detail change that they've done. If I go under blog and blog archive, we have things that look like this. So changing your topography or changing your colors are going to look a little different now. So we have our archive title, which we can change the size there. And of course we have our post title, which we can change our size here. Now normally this will take up about this much space over here on the left hand side. So they're eliminating how much we have to scroll when it comes to editing our website as well. And it may not sound like a big deal, but it is a huge deal when having to do that. Let's go underneath of our global and colors. These look the same, and we have, there's a section where we can change different things like the buttons. So let me show you that real quick, because this is pretty essential. Right now we have buttons. This is what it currently looks like on the right hand side. This is what the new one looks like. Over here we have a familiar interface, but this is also very clunky. So what we do is we have our text color, text hover, background color, background hover, and then all of our border options and our padding. Over here on the left hand side we have a little bit of a simpler user interface, which in my opinion looks much better than the 1.0. For color we have the option to do normal and hover. So we have these options. And if you're familiar with any page builders that are out there, this is a very similar interface to what they have, the normal and the hover next to each other, so you can choose which one you want to edit. Whereas over here, you may, and I've done this before, I'm so used to doing button text, button background, button text hover, button background hover, that I will do this one, whereas it's supposed to be matching with these two and then these two matching. Where that's not the case, because these are both text and these are both backgrounds. So sometimes I'll do that and it's going to cost me extra time to go back and fix it because I didn't read what the actual setting was. But with this new interface over here on the left, we very clearly can know what we're working on when editing the site. Normal, text color, background color, and then we have our hover, text color, background color. Same with the border. We've got all of our vertical padding, horizontal padding, and border radius. But instead of doing this right here where we can click up and then we kind of have this text box interface, we now have a slider interface that allows us to change all of our settings that we want for our vertical, horizontal, and border radius. And then of course we have our reset buttons to reset back to our default theme, whereas we didn't have those options previously in 1.0. So being able to reset everything back to the way it was when we installed Astra, and of course having these sliders is much easier as well. And of course you can use your keyboard to up or increase or decrease the amount that you want to as well. So we have that there. There's just overall a lot of text changes. So for example, if we go underneath the layout and container, you'll notice that it's just less crowded over here on the left. There's a lot of repetitive words over here in 1.0 where we have the word container, another word container, container, container. Everything is just repetitive, whereas we know we're editing the container. We can see that up here. And then we have the width, layout, page, blog, archives. We don't have to repeat words everywhere. So the less amount of words, I mean, it's going to affect you in some way. The less amount of code that they need, the quicker the site. They're basically just optimizing their code so that they're not as repetitive as they used to be in previous versions. Default container, like I said, everything is just getting much more simple. And even though these two settings provide the same thing, the width and all of these layouts, The left-hand side just looks a lot cleaner. You can tell the subtle differences when it comes to some of their user interface that they have, and then just spacing everything out just a little bit more, just so it's not as crowded when you're trying to edit your site. Let's go underneath of topography. Some of the items that they've done, they've kept the same. For example, here. And then, of course, they have all of their settings for the weight, transform, and then they brought over some of the same settings that you've had before. But you'll notice that there's no heading settings here because there's an entirely separate section for headings right underneath of here, whereas you don't have that here. So base topography, it may be a little bit more confusing when using an old version compared to 2.0, just because you've got your base topography, which is going to be all of your paragraphs and things of that nature, and then you've got your headings, whereas base topography you don't have here, and you might get that confused with primary headers if you want to change your headings up there. So overall, they've consolidated the settings so that you're not going all over the place for them, and it's just less clicks to make those key essential changes to the site. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so yet, definitely subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified every time we upload a new video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and we will see you guys next time.